Hello, welcome to the Placentia Library's Safe and Secure Online presentation. Your speaker will be Andrew. Andrew is an IT leader and security professional living in Placentia. He is also a career and life coach. Today's presentation has been created with the Center for Cybersecurity and Education with the help of world's leading cybersecurity professionals who are certified global members of the International Information System Security Certification Consortium, of which Andrew is a member. We hope you enjoy this presentation, and we will have time for questions at the end.
All right. Thanks, Megan.
Yeah, I'll just hand it off to you, and I'll be here available if you need me.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. This is about how you can be safe on internet, safe and secure on internet. The session will take about 45 minutes, and at the end, we can have questions and answers. But in the meantime, like in the middle also, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put in the chat. So you are able to see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see your screen.
All right. Okay, so just quick introduction about myself. My name is Andrew. I have done my bachelor's in computer science engineering, and I've done my executive MBA from UC Irvine. I work as the IT leader. That's my daytime job. I hold various certifications like PMP, CISSP, MBTI. I do career and life coaching, and also I'm a public speaker and a volunteer. This is part of the volunteer where I'm doing this course as a volunteer. I'm passionate about few things, like for example, I love traveling. So here are some of my pictures. So this is the picture when I was traveling to China a few years back, where I'm climbing the Great Wall of China. And then this is in Maui, where I'm climbing the mountain. Of course, I'm not walking, it's a driving. And then this is a long time back, with my friend, we were, going around the city of Sacramento in a, I think, two, 3-seater plane. All right. All right. So as you all know, right, internet has a lot of benefits. And for example, it has helped us in communicating, right? We can, sorry, hi, is there any question? Okay. So internet has helped us in many different ways. Like, for example, it has helped in communication, right? We have Facebook and Twitter and all those things where we can do a lot of social media, right? It brought people together. It also helped in entertainment, right? So now, you can download the music, you can watch the movies and all, which was very difficult few years back, right? If you remember, in old days, you have to rent the VHS or you have to buy the VHS and or even the CDs and DVDs. But now it's all on internet. Also, the entire e-commerce business has been established on internet, right? So earlier it was more brick and mortar. You have to go to the store, or you can call on the phone, right? You can have catalog shopping and all. But with the internet, now you can do shopping, which has helped tremendously, right? It has created a new market. But with the internet, like any technology, right? With internet, it came with a lot of bad things also, and we can go over some of the some of the things so that you can understand the basic. Now, most of the people, either they are digital immigrant or they are digital native. And what it means is that internet came into existence about in 1990s, like early 1990s. So people who were born before that, who got education before that, they are more digital immigrant, meaning they are a little bit, trying to understand the technology. They try to understand how to use like email or Twitter, Facebook, and all. But people who are born after 90s, they are more like digital native because they are born with with internet. Like when they were young, they got access to internet, they got their own cell phone and all. So they are pretty smart how to use internet and all. But irrespective whether you are digital immigrant or digital native, there are few things which, if you are not careful, then it can be very risky. And we have seen in the examples in the newspaper and all, every now and then we see that a company got hacked and they had to pay the ransom. Even individual people, I know people whose Facebook account got locked, and then they had to work with the criminals and or work with the Facebook and delete that Facebook account and create the new account. So in this session, we will go over a lot of tips and best practices, which can help you to make sure that how you can avoid these potential issues and how you can be more smart. So some of the things, like there is something called malware, which is nothing but it's kind of a small software written by the criminals or the bad actors, and it get installed in your computer or in your phone. Mm, the the most common way of getting the malware is that when somebody clicks on a email link which is not really the email coming from the right source. And we have example where you may see an email which it looks like it came from your bank or from your work or from your college, like university. And if you are not careful and if you click on the link, that's where the link will go to a website and you can start downloading, and that's where the virus get installed and spreads. So that's the general category of malware. Phishing is a term where people try to trick you, kind of. So they sent an email and it shows like pretty trustworthy, but behind the scene, if you look on that hyperlink, which is basically the link where it will go to the website, you can see that it is not really going to say Amazon.com, it is going to some other website. And that's where the criminals, they want you to go there, and then they want you to enter your real Amazon or bank user ID and password, and then they capture, and then they log into your bank account and they try to steal the money, kind of thing. So we have to be careful. And in the next slides, we'll go over in detail. Cloud is a terminology where basically it's a computer which is located in a different place, and you can store your data and your software on cloud. And cloud also is a new technology. It's about 15 to 20-year-old technology where uh, items like Gmail, all your Gmail, attachments, actual mails are stored on cloud. Even Netflix and all is, it's getting streamed from the cloud. So that's an example of a cloud technology. Wi-Fi, which wireless fidelity, basically it's basically via internet, which is wireless internet. And apps are basically small programs which you can install on your laptop or on your cell phones. So it's called apps. It stands for applications. Now, scams. So it's very similar to in the past also, right? Before the internet also, there were scams. Right? People will call you and offer you some offer. So basically, if it sounds like too good, then most likely it is a scam. And phishing email, as I was telling, that it feels like it's a real email, but technically they are not. It is basically somebody's trying to trick so that they can get your user ID, your password, and they can log into your account, for example, Amazon.com, and they can buy this stuff on your account for them. Or they can go to bank and they can transfer the money and all. So here is an example where you see that the email, it says that your password is going to be changing and you have to call by this date, and also it's pretty scary technique they apply. But if you look at that URL, it's actually not going to the real company which you are thinking, but it's going to some other place where it's basically a criminal's site. So this is an example. So anytime you get an email which you are not expecting, you need to make sure that is it from the right source. You can even click on the from, and then from will show you who it came from. And you can see that, it's not like, Julie at Amazon.com. It may be, Julie at something ABC XYZ dot. So that then you know that it's a fake, it's a phishing scam. And in fact, not only personal, in personal life, people in offices also, they get victim of this thing. So there were cases where the email goes to a executive saying that, hey, we need to buy this gift card and we need to transfer the money and can you approve? And then he sends the approve, or he sends some information, and then the criminals are able to buy the gift cards and all. So these are very common technique criminals use. So there are a few other very common types of scams. They create fake emergencies, and they create false promises. They fabricated prices, bogus investments, deceptive money offers, and phony lotteries. And I have slide for each of them. So sometimes, they will just call your computer, or they take control of your computer, and they will say that, looks like you got a virus, you have to call this number or go and download this particular software so that, we'll fix you. So if you are seeing such thing, that is a red flag, meaning, there is an issue where, somebody's trying to take control of your computer. Make sure that you don't allow people to take control. And there are many ways where you can control such things. For example, you need to make sure that you are not logging in your computer as an admin. Always make sure that you create a user account and then you log in as a user, because admin has a lot of privileges. It can allow people to, automatically it can download the software, it can install the software. But if you're a user, then even if in error, if you clicked a link and it downloaded software, lot of times you may not be able to install because it will ask for the password. So at that time you can catch and you can make sure that you are not installing that bad software. All right, the next another scam type is called ransomware. And you might have heard recently there was a big news about this Colonial pipeline which got hacked, and they have to pay about $5 million immediately to unlock their data. So the way it works is that weeks before or days before or months before, criminals are able to get into your system. Like, for example, if you have your small company, they can get into your system and then they can install software. And then a point comes where they can encrypt the entire data of your various computers and servers. And encrypt meaning they lock your data so that you cannot access unless you have a password or a key. And then they will display you this kind of message saying that, all your data has been locked and all your devices are, in my control, and you have to send me this much money. Otherwise, we are going to delete it. And a lot of times, if people don't keep their data as backed up, then they have no choice, right? They have no choice but to pay. And we have seen, like in the case of Colonial Pipeline, they had to pay $5 million because, I mean, for whatever reason, they had to, rely on that data which got encrypted and which got hacked by the criminals. So this is another kind of scam. You have to be careful. And then another one is like advanced fee scam, where they will try to convince you that, we need, like I'm a prince from Nigeria and, I can send you 10 million or $40 million. I need money for shipment. Can you send me, say, $1,000? And then you will get, remaining money of this. So this is all scam. And you might have seen emails, and I have seen personally myself that, a lot of times the email comes where, they say that, oh, I'm the, legal heir of this property, and I need to, give you, and I don't mind sharing with you, and blah, blah, blah. So you have to be careful. Another one is that where they say that your relative, like for example, your brother is stuck in a particular tourist spot, and his wallet got stolen. Can you send him the money? And otherwise, people will arrest him, or they can say that he has to pay for the hotel. Otherwise, they'll. So, and these are not new scams, right? Even before internet, these were common. They used to call people and they will say that your grandson is stuck and you have to send money, otherwise something bad will happen, and people sometimes get victim to this. So you have to be very careful. All right. So in case if if you run into such situation where you are a victim, then there are some of the steps which you can try to take, where you can be calm, right? You don't have to make hasty decision. Immediately change your password in various websites and various apps. Make sure that you make a list of all the items which got stolen, and they track all the communication, right? So if they are sending emails, or calling, or sending you messages and all, because this will be helpful for the authorities. You can also obtain a copy of your credit record and review it to make sure that they have not done like identity theft and all. You can notify your credit card agency and financial institute like your bank, and you can contact your local law and enforcement like police department. All right. So social media is one of the big usage of internet, right? If you see that, I believe there are more than billion users on Facebook. So, and Facebook is just one social media, right? There are many other social media websites like LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat. There are many. So few things maybe you are not aware that all the data they are shared by default. So unless you go and change the privacy policy, right? Every application has a privacy setting. Unless you go and change, by default, it can share your email, it can share your phone number, it can share all the pictures, how many friends you have, who are your friends and all. So a lot of people don't know, but these are the things where people need to make sure that they lock the privacy. Another thing is that anything you share on the social media and in general in internet, right, even on the blog and all, they are going to stay forever. And of course, recently there were some laws in Europe and all where you can request, and then the company are legally bound to go and delete the data. So which is coming, but still there are many countries and many websites where once you put your info, it's going to stay there forever. Now, personal information can put you and your family in danger. Like for example, if you say that I'm going on vacation to say Hawaii from this date to this date, criminals can watch it, right? Especially if you have your settings as open, anybody can read, and then they can do, like for example, they can come and do robbery at your home. So these are the things where if you post personal information, then it's you are inviting the trouble kind of thing. So we should not be putting like home address and people going on vacation and such things. Also online activity, you put, they will be visible to your future employers because they don't get deleted. It will be there for forever kind of. So future employer may see it, and then if it's something controversial, then you may not get that job. So you have to be very careful what you are posting, what kind of picture, what kind of things you are writing kind of thing. And it's not really a popularity contest, so it doesn't mean that you invite and you add anybody on social media just to increase your number of friends count. So you have to be very careful who you are adding to your network. So to avoid this kind of tricky situation, as I was saying, you can set up your privacy policy in your setting. So every app has the setting where you can go and make sure that who you are sharing information. as I was telling you, right, you cannot delete. Even if you delete, a lot of times, your data will be there, visible for a long time, forever kind of thing. Also, if you are, making friends, make sure that, you really know them. Because a lot of times online people will pretend, they will pretend as if, they are a young teenager, but maybe, he's a 70-year-old person. So you never know. So you have to be very careful, and you don't have to, make friends with stranger. And do not post your date of birth, your address, phone number, going on vacations and all. And anytime you post, make sure that you're thinking. Don't be in rush and post, because once you post, it's very difficult to delete and get rid of. And if you're tagging your friends, and if you're sharing your friends' pictures and all, always get permission from people, from your friends, before posting your information. And then here are some of the best practices for passwords. Now, I can tell you one thing, right? A lot of people know about this, but they don't follow, and that's where the problem comes, right? So it's better that if you really want to be safe and secure on internet, on the online world, you try to follow these best practices, so which really works. So try to make sure that you are not repeating the same character, or like 11111, or repeating the same word and all, because these are very easy to crack. There are software which will crack people's password. So the idea is that you should create passwords such a way that it's very difficult for hackers and criminals to crack your password. And do not use commonly used passwords. Like sometimes people use password 123, or they put your their pet name and all. So these are very easy to crack. And you can always put special characters like pound, hash, explanation. And a lot of nowadays, lot of websites requires you to enter, so which is pretty good. You can also combine upper letter and lowercase. So for example, you can say that safe and secure, and you can put S as capital, and instead of and, you can put ampersand, and then secure, you can put another a capital letter. So these are some of the best practices. Nowadays, for you have two-factor authentication, which is basically nothing but they will ask you, once you log in, they will send a one-time password to your cell phone, and then you can enter that. So any application or app which allows two-factor authentication, try to use it, because that is another layer of defense and another protection, so that even if your password get hacked, they cannot access your account, because you will have your cell phone. There are authenticator apps, right? There is a Google Authenticator, there is a Microsoft Authenticator. So you can use those also to use the same, two-factor authentication. One second. Sorry. All right, and then make sure that the passwords are very long. So earlier they used to say 8-character, but nowadays, it is better to have minimum 12-character passwords, because the longer it is, the difficult it will be for the hackers to crack it. And make sure that you are using passwords in your every application, because sometimes there are applications which will allow you to connect or log in without password. Try to avoid that. It's better to set password and make sure that the passwords are not same. So for example, if you have multiple bank account, make sure that you are not using the same password for all the bank accounts. It's very easy, but that's where the criminal is able to get password of your one bank account, then they can get access to your other accounts also. And then you should try to change your passwords often, right? Every 30 days, every 90 days, every 6 months or so. Make sure that you keep changing, make that habit. And all these things are it takes a little bit time, but they will help in long run. All right, and a few other things you can follow is that make sure that your antivirus software is up to date, and make sure it is installed and running. So in your laptop and in your iPad or notebooks and all, make sure that there are antivirus software. Also, make sure that your programs and apps are up to date, because a lot of times there will be message saying that you need to update. So don't delay it. Try to update, because a lot of times those update contains important security patches. So that if there's a bug found, the company will try to fix it, and then they will put it as a release. So you make sure that you don't delay and update it as soon as possible. Of course, there are sometimes there are pros and cons. Right? There may be, while they are trying to fix a bug, there may be another bug they might have introduced, but you have to balance it out. Also, you need to update operating system. So every now and then, if you're running Windows, you will see that Windows will force you to update operating system. So that is good, and you don't have to wait until the software forces you. You can make sure that when it says that, hey, it's time for you to there's a new install downloaded, fix downloaded, or update downloaded, make sure that you update as soon as possible. And if sometimes you go to a website and there will be some warning signs saying that the certification is old or is expired and all, and that means that it's very unsecure and you should try to avoid, because that's where all this hacking and stealing of the data can take place. So another best practice is that make sure that you back up your data. Now it's very important, and it's very easy also to do. It's more of a it's your discipline to make sure that you are backing up your data. So there are nowadays the hard drives are very cheap. You can get for say $100. You can get good maybe 1 terabyte of data hard drive, where you can copy all your important data on that, and then you can save that hard drive in a different location, or say at your workplace or at your friend's home and all. So that is really helpful, so that even if your computer gets hacked, if all your data is corrupted or something, you have a safe backup. And try to back up on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, or at least a few months, once in a few months. Another best practice is that when you are traveling, for example, if when you are at the airport or at the hotel and all, they offer Wi-Fi. You have to use it with very caution, right? So, for example, don't try to connect it auto-connect. Right? So when you open the computer, it will auto-connect. So try to disable that. Use it only when you need. And you can just use it for normal, like web surfing kind of thing, right? If you are looking for some directions, or trying to find out restaurants and all, that's fine to use. But try to avoid going to your bank application, right? So if you have account in say Bank of America, don't try to go and use that Wi-Fi, because that's where hackers can go and steal. They can read your user ID and password and all. So you have to be careful. Also, avoid checking your emails, because it is possible to get your email ID, your password, and then hacker will be able to log into your email account, and then they can connect to your bank account. So it's better to avoid that. Also, try to avoid making purchases. So if you go to Amazon.com, then you are entering user ID password, same thing, right? They can access your user ID password, and now they will be able to purchase the product and ship it to their location on your account. So these are some of the best practices. And when you are surfing the internet, make sure that you look at this website, and it should have HTTPS. So S is for security, right? So make sure that it's not just HTTP, it's a HTTPS, and you will see a lock on that particular website address. So that means it is safe. And make sure that when you go to a website, or when you're clicking on a link, it has the same site which you want to go. Because if you want to go to abcnews.com, but then the other one says abcnews.anything.com, that means it is directing you to a wrong site. So that's just an example. All right. So when you are doing say online banking and online shopping, make sure that the website is real, the one which you are trying to enter, because you will be entering your user ID, your password, your credit card information and all. And most of the time, right, bank will never ask you for your credit card or password or PIN number and all. So you have to be careful, right? If somebody is asking you in email or via call, that's a red flag. That means somebody's trying to steal your information. And ensure that you are using very strong and unique password, as we discussed in the previous slides. And for the emails, make sure that you never follow, if you get an email, try to make sure that it's coming from a trustworthy location, like a source. And also don't try to blindly follow. And it's better to, be very careful. Don't just click, because that's where the problem starts. And try to avoid sending sensitive information like social security number, date of birth in email, because email again is not secure. And try to log out of your email and any application when you are done. So a lot of people, they leave their account logged in just for the easy purpose, right? For easiness. But that's where if they hack your browser, then they have access to all your user ID and passwords. And always try to question, right? So if you see some error message, if your antivirus is giving some warnings and all, make sure that they are legitimate warning. And if they are, then try to run them, try to make sure that antivirus is doing their job of cleaning up, removing the viruses. And worst scenario, maybe you may have to need to take technical help and all, but do not ignore. And at the same time, if criminal is trying to send you a fake information, then you have to be careful to make sure that is not really a fake info. Nowadays, we are doing a lot of downloading and watching music and videos on streaming. So make sure that you are going to reputable site to download music, watch movies, download apps. Because what happens is sometimes you will see that the application is free, but maybe they have some software written, some logic written in the code, where once you download, it will start collecting your data and sending to the server. And these are all very common scenarios. And this has happened in the past to people, where they download a application which claims that they will provide you free calling, and then now you install the software, but now it's trying to capture your picture and then copy it to their location. And also, so you have to be very careful. Chat rooms. So chat room is another one where these are very it can be dangerous. It can be a breeding ground for offensive languages and sexual content and predators. Make sure that they have webcams also. So we have to be very careful, especially children are drawn. So they should try to make sure that they are not using their real name and all. And it's basically stranger danger, very similar to how you see in the street, right? You should not be talking to strangers. Same thing applies to internet, where you should not be chatting with strange people. And then it's better to remain anonymous, right? Don't put your real first name, real last name, because nowadays people can Google your name and then they can find out a lot of stuff, right? Where you live, where you study, what you do, kind of thing. So as much as possible, you should be anonymous and try to use your alias, right? So instead of giving your real name, just create an alias and use that. And if you find that there are some inappropriate behavior going on, it's better to exit out. Just sign out so that you don't get involved. And then never follow any instruction if somebody is giving you, right? Somebody is saying that, okay, go and download this new cool webs like game and all. You have to be very careful and do not do things. All right, and then gaming. So I know nowadays, a lot of people it's almost like a addiction, right? Online gaming, but you have to be very careful. It's okay to play for some time, but playing a lot of hours may have effects on your mental health also. So for the safety purpose, make sure that you keep chat relevant to the games and never provide any personal, private, and confidential informations. Uh, Consider setting up private chat with known people only, right? So do not just have one-on-one chat with some unknown person. Never send real currency in game uh, without permission, and restrict age requirements on games, right? So that if your kids are going and playing, make sure that you have age restrictions so that they don't download uh, inappropriate games. Right. So here are a few more things about nowadays we take a lot of pictures, right? We take pictures and videos on our cell phone. So you have to make sure that you are thinking before posting your pictures, because many times picture may have some information which can reveal your identity or your location. So for example, if you are on vacation and you are posting, then people can clearly see that you are out of town, and then they can say do robbery at your home, for example. And then also they can follow you, right? So if you are saying that you are at this location and the criminal, they can follow you, they can come to that particular location. So this is a concept called geotagging, and it is better to remove or deactivate that geotagging. And I'll talk in the next slide how to remove the geotagging. So basically, if you go to your setting, and this is available on both Android and iPhone. So if you go to your settings, and if you look at location services, and then it will say that, okay, these are the applications which you are allowing location services. So it is better to allow location services only to apps which really needs. So for example, if there's a map or direction application, then it is okay, because then it the application can know where you are and then where you are going, and it can come up with the direction. But there is no reason to have this location on for photos and for videos. So you should go and you can deactivate those. And and most of the cell phones have that instruction, and that will, what it does is that it will not put your like longitude and latitude information to the photo. And then when you upload that photo to social media, it will not have those information. So it will not know, people will not know where this photo was taken. And nowadays, a lot of this big social media website, right, like Facebook, they have done in recent years, they have changed their software so that it will strip. Even if you have that, it will try to strip that information. It's just for your safety. So they have done that, but it's better to disable those. And there's another way you can find out, right? So if you go to your phone, if you look at your apps, if you look at your photos, and if they are ordered by the location, right? So if it says that this was taken in Yellowstone and this was taken in Yosemite and all, then you can be pretty sure that it is geotagged, so that it's grouping based on where the picture was taken. So there's another way where and then you can deactivate. So I believe this is my last slide. So there are these are some of the key takeaways, right? So anytime before you click, uh, think, don't just be in rush and click, and make sure that your antivirus software is up to date, and make sure it is up and running. A lot of times it will give you, for some reason, right? If there's an error, it'll give an error. It may stop working. For example, if you are on subscription based, and if you have not paid for the subscription, it will stop. But you have to make sure that you have the right subscription, or you have purchased copy and you are installing it. And nowadays, a lot of internet providers, or if you are a student, a lot of universities, they also provide free antivirus software. So you can check out and make sure that you have that software running. And also make sure that most of your software, right? In fact, all your softwares are up to date, and in your cell phone, the devices are up to date, because many times all this updates contains new features and fixes to some of the bugs. And there are a lot of times README file kind of where which will say, okay, this update has these 20 things, and if you are interested, you can go and look at all those 20 things to make sure what changes you will have. Make sure that you are updating your privacy settings. And a lot of times, so you do your privacy setting one time, but that doesn't mean that it is once done and all. It is better to check every now and then, because what happens, right? Companies software, they release new feature, and with new feature they may introduce new settings, new privacy policy, and by default they may say that I'm going to, the company will share your information. So that's where you have to go, and often, right, every few months you have to go and check your privacy policy on your applications to make sure that if there are new settings in that privacy policy, you are okay with those settings, and otherwise you go and change. um, Make sure that you are making friends only known people, not like anybody who is online. And if you got a request from a unknown person, then you have to make sure you delete them. Like recently, I went to Facebook and I got a person from like Nigeria or somebody saying that he wants to be friend, and I had to delete him. And then make sure that you back up your important documents, and documents can be your Word file, your movie, your videos, your photographs. First thing, make sure that you have a good backup copy, because a lot of times computer may go bad also, right? Not just for hacking or bad things. Computer may just die, and then if it dies, then you don't want to lose all your data. So it is better to back up. Nowadays you can back up all data on cloud also, right? So even if you don't buy external hard drive, you get about 5 GB, 5 GB, 10 GB, 15 GB free on, say, your iCloud account or your Apple account. So you can try to put all your important documents there, so that in case of emergency you can download. um, you should always question, if you see any email which you are not expecting, try to question, make sure that it is what you are expecting. If not, then just delete it. Anytime pop-up comes up, make sure that you remove that, don't click there. And when you're downloading and watching movies and music, it's from proper site, because there are a lot of sites which will say, oh, you can download free music and all, but they have a catch. They may be, while you are downloading, they may be installing virus and malware on your computer. And do not post any sensitive information on your social media sites. So I believe this is my last slide. We have about 10 minutes. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I guess people are enjoying the summer, so we see very few people join this session, but that's okay. I think we'll have the recording, so
And
maybe.
we have a question on the chat. Are there any antivirus softwares that you recommend?
Yeah, so I think McAfee is one of the best, and yeah, I think McAfee is the leader. So that's the best I always use. And the reason is that you can get free software also, but the free softwares will not be at par, right? So what happens, right? If there is a new virus introduced by criminals, then all these companies, they work immediately. They try to understand what this virus does, and then they will try to come up with a fix for that virus, and they will push that patch or that release to your version. And I have found that McAfee is one of the leader where you will get that particular patch immediately. Other softwares, they may be lagging, right? And especially the free software, right? Because free software, they have to make money, so they will be making money by, say, advertisement and all. So it is better to pay, because it is worth paying that investment. And these are not costly, right? They are like 30, $40 or something like that. So it's better to use right software. All right, let me stop sharing. And I think, Megan, if there are no questions, then maybe, I think